What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's video, we want to discuss this issue of aid to South Africa specifically, right? And in Africa in general, right? But there's an argument that South Africa needs the aid that it gets or used to get, right? And there's an argument to say South Africa doesn't need aid. So we want to get into this debate, see the pros and the cons of aid. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla. People, the issue of aid in South Africa, right, comes down to international organizations, right? Big ones obviously being Oxfam, what else we have? The UNHRC, all these other state organs of the UN, basically arms of the UN, right? So WEF, the World Health Children's Fund, the World Health this, the World Health Organization, the world this, the world's that, the world's everything, right? There's an aid organization for almost everything in Africa. Yes, yes, cool. Now we've established that. Now we know that. People, what are the fundamental things that South Africa suffers with, or what South Africa struggles with? Is there an agency that addresses or alleviates those problems? That's my question. It's one thing to say, yes, we need aid. Of course, we need the aid, right? Let's start with the rural schools. Is there an agency that can eradicate rural schools and put permanent, solid structures? It's been 30 years. Is there an agency that's committed to eradicating rural schools? Is there an agency that's dedicated to eradicating drop toilets, pit toilets? Is there an agency for that? People. Then we go to healthcare. Is there an agency that's committed to providing healthcare to every corner of South Africa? Is there an agency that is committed to providing mobile clinics if they cannot build clinics or hospitals in far-flung areas, right? Let's go to food security. Is there an agency that can provide proper food, not GMO food? We all know GMO food has to be produced because they said there's too many people, and GMO food is the easiest way that they can alleviate that stress. But in the long term, is GMO foods good for the body? I don't think so. So, one deep look into the education system, you will see that international aid agencies don't do barely enough to address the needs of schools at a basic level, especially in the rural areas and township schools. Now, a lot of people are going to argue with me and say, but they do what they can, the government also got to step in. Okay, 100% true, and I agree with that. But here's my question. Are these agencies really here to help Africa? Or are these agencies really here to take from Africa, to monitor and report back to HQ? That's the real question. Because the speed at which Europe was developed with these same agencies, the speed at which Europe was developed after World War II. Remember, World War II decimated Europe. These very agencies that are in Africa now are the very agencies that helped build Europe up. Look how Europe looks with the help of these agencies. Look how Africa looks from the same time period to now. It's not the same. So, what these agencies are giving to Africa is much needed help. I agree. It's a drop in the ocean. It's just a teaspoon of what they're supposed to do. Look what they did in Europe. In Europe, they gave them the whole 9 yards. So let's go back again. Does South Africa need this aid? Yes, we do. Those trinkets they're giving us, no, we don't. We need bigger, meaningful aid than the little trinkets that they're giving us. Now, you will say to me, well, half a loaf is better than nothing. I said, true, 100%, I agree. But if you can provide your own half a loaf, why do you need someone else's half a loaf? Do you understand what I mean? So, my whole point is these agencies are not here for the benefit of Africa. Yes, they give us just a, a finger, not a hand, a finger. And yet, when it comes to Europe and America, they give a whole arm and a leg. But when it comes to Africa, they just give a finger. That's not fair. So, we need to stop thinking of aid as something that we really need, we really want, that is owed to us, something that is, hmm, something that we're entitled to. We need to stop thinking that way. Guys, there's more sinister things happening in the background that we do not see. All we seeing is bags of flour, bags of rice, bags of maize meal, bags of this. All we seeing is container infrastructure, this container that. Behind the scenes, there's much more sinister stuff that's happening. I don't really understand the basis of these international agencies in Africa, and yet they're not transforming Africa in a big way. Yes, they're donating monies, but those monies don't come at a free cost. They don't just come as in a form of just a donation with no expectations. They obviously come with conditions attached. So those type of aids are aids that we really do not need long term. We can do it once, twice off, and then we're good. Look at all the countries that do not receive aid. Why are those countries enemy number one? Why? Why would you be why would you be an enemy because you refuse to take aid? So you telling me countries like, I don't know, I think it's Botswana, I think Egypt, I think Ethiopia, and it's like about, I think Libya as well at some point. And it's like about 5 African countries that do not take aid. And those countries are deemed hostile states. Why would you deem a country hostile state if it's able to look after its own people? So why are you trying to convince the population that the governments are incapable or are hostile towards its people, and yet those same countries are providing everything they need for their people? So that's what I'm saying. There's something sinister that's going on with these aid organizations that we are not privy to, and we need to find out why that is. It can't be. It just cannot be. Every time there's bad press about Botswana not being a good country, Egypt being this, or Ethiopia being that, why? And then they still go a step further and trying to destabilize those countries, destabilize. Guys, come on. You cry about aid. We need this aid. We don't need aid. We really don't. We need a helping hand, yes. Give that finger cool. You take the finger now. We're not going to take their finger forever. And we don't want their finger to grow into an arm because it comes with a whole lot of negativity that we don't see. All we just think is the bag of flowers. Oh, thank you for the bag of flour. Sure, the bag of flour comes, but what are they taking out? They brought the bag of flour in, but what are they taking out? That's another thing we need to look at. You know what I mean? So yeah, this debate keeps going on. People are divided. People really think that we should use these American companies, these international aid organizations as our permanent way of life. And I really think that's not the way to go. It's really not the way to go because all these aid agencies have been operating in Africa for as long as I can remember. And for as long as I can remember, the same old problems that they are here to try and solve keep going on, getting worse and worse. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, in the bigger scheme of things, why are they here? Why are they here? Next, we get into the pros of having aid. The pros of having these aid agencies in your countries. I don't think there's pros, but surely there has to be one or two pros. So we'll dive into that and see what we come up with. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. People, the pros of aid agencies in South Africa. Number one, they solve a teething problem. Number two, they serve as a band-aid and not as a complete cure or eradication to whatever problem is plaguing South Africa and Africa. Number three, aid agencies give you that relief from the struggles that you are going through. They are not a permanent solution. Never have been, never will be. The only meaningful plague, or there's two that I can think of, that the World Health Organization has actually worked hard to eradicate from the face of the earth, was leprosy and polio, right? If all the aid agencies would act with the same vigor as they did for the cure of those two diseases in every other endeavor, then aid would be most welcome, because then you can see a tangible difference. You can actually see meaningful progress being made that's made to benefit the masses. That's what I'm talking about. The eradication of those two diseases was a benefit and is a benefit and continues to be a benefit to the masses. Now let's talk about poverty and inequality. There's aid agencies dedicated to that. They say South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, the most unequal country in the world. There's an agency that is dedicated to the eradication of poverty and unequal standards of living. Okay, cool. How long have we known that South Africa is the most unequal society in the world, the most unequal country in the world? That same agency that's dedicated to that specific problem is operating in South Africa. And yet, South Africa continues to be the most unequal society in the world. And the gap is even getting even bigger. So, what purpose do they serve in that regard, since they're not solving the problem? They're not eradicating the problem. People, I like the fact that aid is freely available. It's just there. It's thrown in your face. It's dangled like a carrot. And it's beautiful. So you can just grab it at any time you want. That's the beauty of getting aid. Aid is a good thing. It's always there. It will always be there. They'll never turn you down unless you've reached your maximum limit of what they can milk out of you. So those are the pros of aid. But remember, take it at your own peril, because at the end of the day, not every good thing is a good thing. Not everything that shines is gold. Not all, what do they say? All that glitters is not gold. And all aid is not aid. Because if all aid was aid, then all aid would be granted and be wanted in all countries. There's a reason why certain countries do not accept aid, because they've seen the devastating effects of countries who've accepted aid, and now they can see how they are reeling with the effects of that aid. But that's not to say that aid is a bad thing. Like anything, aid should be taken in moderation. Aid should not be taken as an it must not be taken like a drug, as an overdose. People are now getting high on aid. People are now depending on aid. People are now looking at aid as if it's part of their lifestyle. And that is to their detriment. It's not meant to be like that. Next we get into the cons of aid. Trust you me. Not a good look. Holla. People, the negatives of accepting aid. Number one, you are going to be forever indebted to these organizations. Number two, these organizations are not here for your benefit or for the benefit of building Africa. That's not what they're here for. Number three, when you accept aid from these international organizations, just know that the conditions attached to that aid outweigh the actual aid itself. Excuse me. People, African countries are sitting in debt. African countries are giving up mineral rights. African countries are giving up so much of their resources just to leverage the aid, just to repay debts that are attached to the aid, whether it's in a monetary fund or or you're paying back in kind. Now, aid is a good thing. We need it. Short term, I don't mind. Long term, not a good thing. Why am I saying it's not a good thing? Guys, for how long has Africa been in poverty? There are organizations that are dedicated to the eradication of poverty. And yet Africa continues to be the most poorest continent on the planet, the most poorest continent in the history of poverty. How is that possible? People, if we set up a company that's dedicated to the eradication of, let's say, crime in a specific country, specific province, state, or area, if after a year, 2, 3 years, or whatever, we review the company's performance and we see that crime has actually gotten worse, would we still need that company? Would we still employ the services of that company? I don't think so. So why do we still need these international organizations that don't seem to be doing the things that they said they are going to do? Don't get me wrong. The aid agencies are doing something. They are helping out. They are giving a helping hand, right? But they are not doing what they are supposed to do. They are not eradicating the problems. They are not building. They come with something called a structural adjustment program. They come with economic reform programs. If I need, if a company needs R1 trillion, right? R1 trillion. So that would be basically like what? Give or take 100 billion, or there were 50 billion rand, I think. 50 billion US dollars. I think should be like about R1 trillion, if I'm not mistaken, give or take. Why would we need to restructure an entire industry, restructure an entire uh, economic plan that the countries already envisioned and seen what's best for themselves? Why would we give up mineral deposits, give up mines? Why would we give up natural resources? Why would we then change the course of what we're trying to do? We sat down, we planned, we saw, we sat down, we planned, we identified the teething problems. We need R1 trillion, which is like, I don't know, I think 50 billion US dollars, if I'm not mistaken, 50 billion US dollars, somewhere there, to eradicate these teething problems that we've identified. We take that to you, you look at it, you say, that's not good enough. No, that's wrong. You people are doing it wrong. What you people need to do is you need to take these mines, you need to take these resources, you need to change this, you need to change that. And then when you look again, we are losing. And yet we were not supposed to have lost anything in our initial plan. We identified a problem, we want to solve it. Now, not only are we not going to solve that problem, but we're going to lose assets, natural resources. A case in point is what? Not Botswana, a case in point is Zambia. Zambia was on the right track when they discovered they had copper. Do you know how valuable copper is? Copper is so valuable that even Zambia's copper was deemed useless. How can a country that, guys, go to any scrapyard, the price that copper fetches at a scrapyard, sure, dude. If all these people that are collecting cans, if they could collect copper, they would never collect cans because just the price of copper alone. So if copper is that valuable, why is Zambia suffering? Why is Zambia struggling? And yet they've got copper. Why is Niger suffering? And yet they've got uranium. It's unfair that when it comes to Africa, the very products that are valuable are deemed useless. Why? Why? So that is why I say, people, when you see these international aid agencies, don't think they are here for your rescue. Don't think they are here for your development. Don't think they are here for your upkeep. Don't think they are here to push you to the stratosphere like what they've done in Europe. No. Always use Europe as your measuring board, as your barometer. If the UN could develop Europe to what it is today from World War II, Africa didn't go through World War II. So why couldn't they just build on what was already here? In Europe, they had to reconstruct after the war decimated Europe. Africa, they didn't need to reconstruct. They just had to build on what was already here. Even that, they refused to do. And then you want to tell me we need aid. With every aid package that comes in, trust me, Africa loses much more than what they're receiving. And that's what the leaders don't want you to know. That's what the leaders don't tell you. Every structural adjustment program, every economic recovery plan, every whatever fancy term they use has decimated the country even worse, devaluing the country, the currency even lower. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you don't agree. Maybe you have your own opinions. Maybe I didn't bring all the facts. Maybe I didn't do this. Comment section is there. We can always debate and argue and disagree or agree in the comment sections. You bring your facts, I bring my facts, and we can see maybe we can come to a common ground. Because honestly, I really don't see the real big benefits other than short relief, short term benefits and gains from aid. But I don't see a bigger picture, I really don't see it. So that's what I'm saying. We do not need to continue getting drips and drabs of aid when we can just get a meaningful, sustainable plan that's going to build us up from the ground up. That's what I'm saying. That's what the aid is supposed to be. Let me know what you think on this topic in the comment section below. Was I on the money or did I totally miss it with this one? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know that we family, right? Holla. Look at this. 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 That's me right there. That's me. That's me right there.